Because no one's watching right now. Let me make sure that my volume's on. Oh, there we go. It took a bit for the volume to come on properly. I'm going to talk today about the senseless tragedy in Texas. There we go. It took a bit for the volume to come on properly. Now, I'm going to talk today about this is my opinions. Hello and welcome. I'm not going to say that because I'm Canadian. I'm not going to say that Americans shouldn't have the right to bear arms. This is my opinions. Hello and welcome. Because it wasn't for the Samaritans and the one that had the other gun, it could have been he could have went somewhere else and continued even worse, or done more damage at the church. Because he already did a whole huge amount of damage. But the fact that back in, I believe it was like 2012-ish, about 5 years ago, almost 6-ish, he was court-martialed, and the people that were supposed to put it on the record that it would be illegal for him to to legally purchase a gun, and they didn't. So therefore, he legally purchased the gun or guns that he used to murder and severely injure these individuals, their families, emotionally and mentally, and that hurt them. That if they had put the proper information on record, he may have gotten a hold of gun or guns illegally and still done this to try and murder his mother-in-law along with other people, but he wouldn't have had as easy of a time. In my opinion, he had much easier time to access the weapons. Being a dangerous offender, he shouldn't have had that access, but people the position to prevent things like this, even small amount. It may not have totally prevented this from happening. I don't know if he would have went and gotten a gun illegally. I'm not in his mind or the mind of anyone else. But like I said, in my opinion, he should have they should have had the court martial, and the fact that he was a violent offender and it was legal for him to purchase arms, guns, then it would have been one step possibly prevent this tragedy that everyone in Texas in Sutherland Springs, Texas is going through. And I don't like to, after the fact, because it's done, the damage is done, you can't go back. But we can learn from this by taking and ensure that those that are responsible for placing bans on legally purchasing guns put into place when they're supposed to. so that maybe something like this won't have that legal access, which might be the thing that prevents them from snapping and doing that damage, horrific, horrible crime. Why sit there and so I don't understand why the people that were supposed to, because number one, a baby, he was like 18 months old, which is about a year and a half. His stepson, he shook this baby and that so hard that it gave them a hematoma. It is a bleed between your skull and your brain, if I'm not mistaken, and that is deadly and dangerous. There may have been other injuries to his stepson that we don't know. But that baby has permanent, and the baby's mother was abused by him and assaulted. Why was it not on his record like it was supposed to be? He spent a year in confinement. And because of someone or someone's error, to me, this is not a minor mistake. This was a critical mistake, because if that was on his record, that he couldn't legally buy guns, that might have been the thing that prevented him from taking the life of 26 people. Hold on, my phone. They can leave a message. Um, sorry about that. I'm very sorry about that. That's unintentional, but because I have an appointment with my eye specialist today, astigmatosa, I'm legally blind, and my eyesight's been getting worse. I needed to make sure it wasn't eye specialist or something about my mom who has a. But getting back to what I was talking about, not to go off topic forever. Um, there was 26 individuals that are no longer with their loved ones, including that whole church. His congregation was is a family. I've belonged to a church like that in a small community. Something like that happens, everyone is affected. And I could not imagine in the least being in a church or any place where you are sitting there, standing, you're singing, you're praying. If you're in a home, you're you could be sleeping or eating, what have you, and someone feud against their mother-in-law, which by the sounds of it, he just it wouldn't have been her fault, and I don't hope she doesn't think that anyone blames her, and I hope that she doesn't blame herself, because in no way is it her fault that her son-in-law took it upon himself to violently and insanely take and get weapons and go and shoot up a church and kill from, I believe it was 18 months, which is a year and a half, to 77 years old among the 26 individuals that lost their lives. Pastor and his wife, their daughter, one woman that had, like, I believe it was 5 kids, and her, and I think it was three of her kids, she was pregnant. So I'm not sure if they're counting the one, the unborn child or not, but they're just gone. And that one girl hiding under a pew like a child, and the bullet hit her glasses and shattered her glasses. And thank she's right that I'm seeing when I was looking at that. But that could have been so much worse. Men, women, children, babies, elderly. It's just, it's nuts. Like, I mean, I have feuds with some of my family members because I'm transgender. But to be violent? No. Just stop talking to them. Because you don't want, well, I'm not a violent person, obviously, but he was. And I am so glad that the Good Samaritan took and got with another Good Samaritan and they chased him down, that he wasn't able to go somewhere else or possibly go to his mother in law's house or wherever he would have thought that she would be, or his office, off his sound, not of sound mind, obviously, and start shooting up somewhere else. It was prevented from becoming hundreds dead. So I think that, and about a month or so before Christmas, and so I'm thinking, if it hasn't already been done, that a GoFundMe page should be put up for community to help with repairs and rebuilding the building if it needs to be torn down and rebuilt, and to aid in costs for victims and their loved ones and family, and like victims that lost like generations and multiple. It's none of them, even if you lost just one, they are going to probably need help with finances to bury their and the funerals and whatnot of their lost family members. So I think someone should set up a GoFundMe or some sort of bank account or what have you that goes strictly to to those affected and that community, to help them, even to help with their grieving process. There are children that are affected too, and they grieve differently than adults. There are teenagers that are affected. There's so much grief, and I know they have grief counselors and stuff there, but to, I think, to have a fund set up to have money to help them in that community in any way they need during this awful, awful time would be helpful. So I think I'm going to try and see who I would talk to in order to have that done, because it's hard when you find out that pardon me, that you find out that you have a family member that has cancer or heart condition or has had a heart attack or been in a car accident. But this is one of the most horrific things to happen, and a lot of these individuals have lost multiple family members or loved ones, so they need that support. And he even some bags of groceries sent to survivors and in the community so that they don't have to worry about going shopping for a little bit because they're grieving, they're trying to deal with this. Many of them, some of these grieving individuals were in the church and survived or not in the church. But like and that something that I am so glad that here in Canada we don't have this kind of thing so much. But I'm sure it happens. But you don't hear about it like this, and my heart breaks, and it's hard for me because I'm on testosterone to cry. It, it, I feel like crying because the devastation, the idea that any human being would go and sit there and get a weapon and take and open fire on other human beings there if you person A has a beef with person B and they take a gun or a knife or whatever and they go and kill person B or hurt them, they still should do that and they should pay for their crime. But it's way worse when you have the multiple casualties, multiple people affected. It's not one family, it's the victim's family, the one victim's family, and the one perpetrator's family. It's multiple families, multiple people that are involved because it's 26 people. 26 people are dead. And that's just nuts. 26. And that's not including the like 20 or so that are injured. That are injured. Those individuals are. And that's not including the like 20 or so that are injured. It's those individuals makes me sick to my stomach to know that even one human being lost their life or was injured. I don't care if they're an adult, 100 years old, or 2 years old, week old. Life's a life. It's not right or fair. But what in life is fair? But in my eyes, now that it's out, that shooter should have been that he was illegal to purchase firearms. His right to bear arms was taken away from him. Well, it was supposed to be taken away from him, but it wasn't. So he legally took that right to bear arms, go and do this massacre to individuals over something in his mind that his mother-in-law did, when he obviously had aggression towards women and children, people that cannot stand up to you. And yeah, I know I've been I've done a lot of talking about women putting the turning the abuse that they've done onto them, and men don't have a lot to go on for the it's done to them. But in this case, that man is one of the classic men that are violent and abusive towards women and children. And if he was such a danger, why didn't they not only have him marked as illegal for him to buy weapons and bear arms, but on where he was locked in a place he had to check in, and if he wasn't, I don't know that detail, but he shouldn't have been allowed to set around places that have children, that especially members that he could hurt, like his mother-in-law. It really frustrates me because it wasn't all that long ago that there was the Las Vegas shooting. And my heart still goes out to those in Las Vegas that during that concert they were open fire on, and so many hundreds, I believe it was, and lost their life and were injured. Now 26 people dead, no longer able to grow up and go to school, go to work, have children, have more children, be get married, start a family, be with their husband or wife, mother or father, sisters or brothers, no longer able to spend Christmas, which is coming up, with those that they love. I mean, my grandmother, my mom's mom, she passed away of multiple heart attacks. My uncle passed away of heart attacks. My aunt passed away of colon cancer. Another aunt died in a house fire. And I grieved. My moms were hard to handle, especially my nanny, my mom's mom, because I was only 9 years old, around about 9 years old when it happened. But that's a lot easier than if my nanny or my aunt or aunts or uncles, or that had been shot. I don't believe in even water guns because it. I don't want anything that can lead to someone. Well, if you teach them, because now a lot of people even get weapons illegally. So you need to teach your children and those around you that you can, that knives, guns, bats, whatever, cars, whatever can be used as a weapon, to use it safely and appropriately. A knife is to be used for cutting food, for hunting. Guns can be used for hunting. Use them. Security guards use them. If they are guns, in my eyes, I don't think we should take guns totally away because they are used in a large part to protect the world. But people need to be taught. And I think if you have, like, shooter hat, if you have violence and you're charged, it should be an automatic thing. And those that didn't place that on his record, they made it possible that he could purchase guns legally, when it should have been illegal. He wouldn't have had that exact gun, if any. It may have prevented senseless tragedy. But now people need to think. Use this senseless tragedy, like I said, to teach your kids and to retrain and find out why something like that happened. Or was it not marked that he was no longer legally allowed to buy guns? And check, is there anyone else that is supposed to be not be legally allowed to purchase weapons like guns? Are they not marked? Because it should be gone through the files to make sure that no one else that should be illegal to purchase a firearm can legally purchase it. Because that can be prevented. That's a step. Because it is a step in the right direction to prevent this tragedies from happening again by making sure that if someone is charged with a violent crime, assaulting a woman, assaulting a man, because there is assault on men, assaulting a child, or proven to have mental health issues, that they could be suicidal or and hurt themselves and or others, that it is marked on their file. Because you can say that, like with this shooter, he assaulted his ex, he assaulted his stepson, not her, sorry, and could have killed the stepson, seriously injured him, and he spent a year confined and was court-martialed and dishonorably discharged because he was an army personnel or marine or that, dishonorably discharged, and yet he legally, even though he wasn't supposed to be able to legally do it, legally purchased a gun and took that gun, loaded it multiple times, and shot and killed 26 men, women, and children. 26 men, women, and children. And seriously injured, seriously to critically, around 20 other individuals. I believe there were only a few that were minorly injured and sent and treated and released. This is a serious thing. Like I said, I'm Canadian. I'm not American. So, but I have people that I know and love in Texas, around the San Antonio area, And like I said, they could have been there. So, and I have loved ones all over the states, in Texas, around the San Antonio area, and it petrifies me. They could be involved in something like that. I have loved ones to all over the states be the ones that are injured or killed, or in something like this too. The shooter's family involved in something like that. Any kids that the shooter would have had be the ones that are injured or killed. Because he called his father and said he didn't think he was gonna make it. So his family, the horror that they have to live with now, that their child, their brother, their sibling took and got a lethal weapon and discharged it on a group of innocent individuals that had done nothing to him, and took a bunch of their lives, 26 of their lives, and hurt badly around 20 others. It is scary. How on earth you think ever that they would feel any less than those grieving for their loved ones? They're grieving the fact that it was their child, their sibling, their nephew, their uncle, what have you, their grandson, took the life of so many individuals and caused so much terror and grief. It is scary. I am so sorry. My prayers do go out, but like the one reporter said on one of the newscasts, it doesn't need to be just, oh, prayers, prayers. Yeah, but something needs to be. I'm not saying take away the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I'm saying those that are supposed to mark an individual as illegal to purchase firearms, mark it or be disciplined because you didn't do your job to prevent a possible tragedy or harm, because they are made their legal right to bear arms is taken away for a reason. People need to do their jobs, and it needs to be more carefully done and checked when someone goes to purchase firearms. But I think that is the same thing with knives. If you're purchasing knives or any kind of weapon, a bat even, it should be made sure that they know the proper use and what they're going to use it for, and be trained in the safe use of it. Anything can be used as a weapon, but if it's something deadly like a knife or a gun, take the time to check and make sure it's not the store person that sold him the gun or guns' fault, because they didn't know, because the people that were supposed to put that it was illegal for him to purchase firearms on his file didn't. So the store got their information back that it was legal, that it was okay, which it wasn't. and then this senseless tragedy happened. My heart goes out to each and every one of those people and anyone that is affected. Like I said, there needs to be a GoFundMe page or a bank account that is strictly set up for them that they can access, because this is just scary. I've always wanted to be a father and a parent, and to have children taken away from other parents, that is just horrible. Peace and love to and healing to every person affected near and far. I'm so sorry this had to happen to you. Peace, love, and many prayers and healing being sent your way. And hopefully people do help with the finances. I'm so sorry this had to happen to you.